I still have no idea how you managed to get this meeting with Carmilla.
If you know the right people.
Wasn't it something with Zestial?
Yes. After my little chat with him, he informed Carmilla about the organization and our associates assigned to them.
I listened to your tape with him. Why did you reveal so much?
Well, wouldn't you want to play nice with someone that powerful? Even his voice is scary.
Ivan is partially correct. I was in a corner, though I did keep the details vague. All he knows is that we exist, I think. It's unclear how much Subject 392 told him before she... We don't know how much 392 told him, so let's avoid oversharing today. Capiche?
Yes, sir.
And let me restate our purpose here. Because observation on the Carmines has been halted, it's now up to us. I had originally planned for it to be just me and her, but with these circumstances, I'm not sure how safe it'll be. That's where you two come in. Ivan, you were by my side when we visited V Tower. Same deal here. If things start to get ugly, step in and make sure no harm comes to Diane.
What about you, sir?
I'll be fine, trust me. As for you, you shall be there to quell any uneasiness. You have a certain way with people, as you demonstrated with Anthony. Carmilla's rather secretive and could be uncooperative. I need you to make her open up. If everything goes right, Ivan won't need to step in. I'll handle the rest, that being questions and steering the conversation.
What if Zestial shows up? Won't he be lurking around?
He most likely will be. This is why I need you two. Carmilla herself is dangerous, but with Zestial by her side too? Let's focus now. Keep calm, assure we're not a threat, and be ready for anything.
If I need to step in, should I do that thing where I...
Yes, but only as a last resort.
Understood.
Here we go. Hello there.
Greetings, Miss Carmine.
Hello.
I presume you are this leader of the rats?
I wouldn't use that term, but yes.
And who are these two?
This is Ivan and Diane.
We're here to clear up any misunderstanding and tension.
From what I've been told by Zestial, your little spy club has its eyes on every corner of the pentagram.
That's a bit of an exaggeration, but yes.
Exactly how many of these people do you have in total? I assume it's in the thousands.
I'd like to avoid revealing more than is necessary. Why don't we stay focused on the reason we're here?
If you've come to apologize, then do it.
We're not here for that exactly. See, when your dear friend Zestial paid me a visit, he requested that I call off any of my associates that were assigned to observe him. For reasons I'll explain later, I revealed to him that you were also being observed. No doubt he told you. And so I gave the order to also exclude you from any observation. If I can't learn about you through passive observation, well, that's why we're here now. I have some questions, which I'm dying to hear the answer to.
If questions are the reason you came today, fine. But what is your purpose?
That's classified.
I'm sorry, but we can't tell you. Please understand, Miss Carmine. We don't have any bad intentions with all this business about watching and asking questions. Yes, we had some friends keeping an eye on you, but they were never going to get in your way or bring you harm.
Even so, that doesn't tell me why you have these spies watching me, and who knows how many others.
Kitartó, bige.
Maradja az angolnál. Nem kell gyanút kelteni benne.
Sorry.
Carmilla, I'll keep this simple. The reason we watch and ask questions is because we're curious. Sinners are fascinating things, and I wish to know more. how you consider yourself an expert in weapon manufacturing, I think of myself as a pioneer in hell psychology.
It can't be simple curiosity that drives you and your rats. If your group is as large as you claim it is, there is definitely something that you're not telling me.
And this is why secrecy is our trademark. We let ourselves be exposed for just a fraction, and this is what happens.
Excuse me?
What my friend here is saying is that we like to stay uninvolved and secret because we don't want to interfere with your personal lives and other things.
And how has that been working out for you? I have no interest in whatever it is you're doing. I have enough to worry about already. If you respect me or my time, you would be wise to leave now.
Miss Carmilla, I know you don't know me, or James, but I know you and I know him. And you two are kind of similar.
What do you mean?
You both care. When I first came to hell, I was in a very shitty spot. I was wounded, dirty, starving, and this disgusting abomination that crawled out of the sewer. I was sure I would spend the rest of my afterlife like an animal, but then, well, he found me. I remember how he took me in, gave me food, treated my wounds, and let me wash away all the dirt and grime. James is the reason I have been able to survive here, to actually live again. I've been working for him ever since. I know you have 2 daughters, and that you would do anything to protect them and keep them safe. You and James have shown that compassion does exist here. If you get to know him like I do, you will see what I mean, and that you both have more in common than you think. Give us a chance to learn about the kind soul like yours among the sinners of hell. There is a reason why you are the way you are, and we would like to know your story for us and future generation of sinners to understand.
What did you say your name was?
It's Ivan.
Very well, Ivan. I will give you 1 chance. Do not waste it.
Thank you, Carmilla.
Ezt nem kellett volna.
De működött.
Let's start small, shall we? What inspired you to become an arms dealer in this place?
War is one of humanity's natural states. Where there is fighting, there will eventually be blood. To choose a side is to make enemies.
I agree.
I provide weapons, yes, but no client is thinking twice about attacking me or my people. If they choose to, they would lose access to the only source of angelic weaponry in hell.
A monopoly on such a resource would definitely give you leverage. How did you become so proficient with your own weapons? Training? Prior experience?
I thought the answer would be obvious. I knew what kind of danger I would be supplying. Protecting myself and my girls is what drove me to hone my skills, with the intent of being a protector, not an executioner or hunter.
I see. Is there anyone else in hell which you feel the need to protect?
Is everything alright, Miss Carmine?
I'm fine. Right now, there is no threat which poses a risk for us. So, no. But should someone like Vox come again, I will not allow fear to control me. I will stand my ground and remain firm. To choose a side is to make enemies. I wish for none of that.
You seem quite adamant about being this neutral protector or keeper. Is there a reason you have dedicated yourself to this philosophy?
If the rat claims we're as similar as he thinks we are, you will already understand why.
Fair enough. Then, would you mind telling me more about that weapon you built for Vox? Quite an impressive contraption you made for heaven's own extermination.
My intentions were good, but my choices were limited. Vox presented an ultimatum, and I had no idea what heaven would do next. Thinking back now, I was foolish for accepting. Zestial was right, and because of me, who knows how many sinners and angels died because of Vox's crazed agenda.
Do you carry this guilt every time a sinner dies by another's hand using your weapons?
James, maybe ease up on the questions. This is a sensitive topic we're approaching.
I suppose.
No, these are valid points you are making. And yes, I do feel some responsibility for every sinner slain. But that is what must be done. If the price of safety is a heavy conscience, so be it. I can deal with that, but I cannot say the same for others.
Well, that's very respectable.
James, if you don't mind, may I ask her a question?
Go ahead.
Miss Carmine, could you explain to me, what is your relationship with Zestial?
He's been one of my closest friends for as long as I can remember. He was there when I needed support, reassurance, and someone to speak with. Even when he never failed to be a voice of reason in my life, and I cannot express how grateful I am.
Thou speakest so kindly of me, Carmilla, yet I believe not that I bear such worth in thine eyes.
Nice of you to join us, Zestial. How long were you listening?
For but a little while. Forgive me. I do beseech thee pardon for intruding upon this private parley, and for hearkening unbidden. Yet caution, methinks, leadeth never unto ruin.
It's all right, Zestial.
Since you're here, would you mind answering me a question yourself?
Was not the purpose of this meeting to commune with her? If thy question be as like unto those thou hast already given, then you...
Oh, shit. Sorry, I have to take this.
Ivan, where are you?
Hello?
Is something wrong?
No, not at all. As I was saying, would you mind answering me something, Zestial?
Proceed. What is thy question?
Carmilla thinks very highly of you, and I do not think her views are misplaced. Would you like to indulge why you are so close with her?
Thou hast already beheld her, and the singular grace she carrieth in a place such as this, full of true intent and good-hearted love. She is unlike the other overlords that do bestride our modern world. I was drawn unto her, both in admiration and in approbation. A life as long as mine hath taught me to cherish and to love what beauty one may find, even in the darkest pit of damnation.
You're too kind.
All right then. Just a few more questions, and that will be enough for today. This time, I'd like the both of you to answer this question. Now that you know redemption is achievable, would you ever consider giving redemption a try?
The idea did cross my mind when I saw the broadcast of that redeemed sinner. Panches, wasn't it? It's hard to imagine that Charlie was right all along, and we were dismissing her.
A lot of the doubt surrounding Charlie came from Vox's influence and propaganda.
It's only been a few days since then. I honestly don't know. I've spent nearly my whole afterlife building all this. My industry, production, everything. The life I live? I'm familiar with it. I know the rules and what I can expect tomorrow. But redemption? There's no telling what that life could mean for me. I'd want my girls to come with me, but if they'd choose not to, or if they'd want me to stay, there's too much to consider at this time. I'd like to see how others approach the idea of redemption, and if a life in heaven would be worth the change.
Ah, I see. Zestial?
A host of Carmilla's points and explanations doth align with mine own. This life in hell is to me a familiar one. I have grown full accustomed to it. All my time here would perchance mean naught, should I choose to seek a path of forgiveness and of purity. All my possessions, my knowledge, and my hard-won experience would matter naught in heaven. And, as I do recall, the small rodent that spoke aforetime did mention that thou and Carmilla share certain likenesses. Were thou in her place, wouldst thou cast aside thy studies and thy gathered notes and depart to dwell in such a realm as heaven? Even so I deemed it.
Diane, would you go find Ivan? I'll finish up here.
Okay. Is he in trouble?
No, but we'll talk with him about meeting distractions later. Go on, I'll meet you by the elevators.
Yes, sir.
I believe that's enough for today. Thank you for your time, Carmilla. And you, Zestial.
This course thou hast taken this day is far more fitting and full of respect. I do hope that, in days to come, thou wilt continue to be as open and as honest as thou hast shown thyself this day.
We'll see.
Do you plan to see me again?
Most likely. Shall I contact you the same way I did yesterday?
That would be fine.
Excellent. By the way, would it be possible for me to speak with Clara and Odette next time?
Why? What do you want with them?
Yeah, might be too early. Never mind. Until next time, I'll be in touch.
Hello?
Ivan, I'm so sorry if I'm bothering you. I just found something. I don't know who else to go to, and I just have so many questions.
Hey, slow down. What happened? Are you hurt?
No, I'm fine, really. But I found something I shouldn't have, and I don't even know what to think.
Vio, slow down. Tell me what happened.
Okay. I went back to your home, and
Vio.
Please don't be mad at me. I know what you said, and I'm sorry, but I needed to know more.
You stupid child. Do you realize you are putting yourself and your father in danger? Where are you?
I'm back home. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
What were you even doing there? What were you trying to find?
I was hoping I could find anything that could tell me more about James when he first came to hell. Surely he kept something. I remembered you showed me that room with all the tapes. I looked in there. You said those white ones were special. I reached for them, but...
What? Vio, what happened?
I ended up pulling out a false tape. I think it was a red one. It revealed a secret door.
Vio, don't tell me you...
It led to a staircase. It was so dark in there. I had to use my phone for light. I followed it down thinking I would find the answers I was looking for, but...
Octavia, what did you see?
I don't even know. I found some sort of automaton, but it looked like it was unfinished and sleeping. I tried to get a better look, but I must have tripped over a loose cable or something. I fell and knocked over some sort of cart with tools. I got up only to see that it was looking at me. And it...
Vio, what happened?
That voice... It said... my name.
What?
Ivan? Why did that thing know my name?
It finally spoke. But wait,
Ivan! Why did it know my name?
sounds of birds.
Sounds of what? Ivan! What was that thing?